But let me ask you another question related to Albania's qualifications for the European Union. And this comes up quite a lot in discussions that we have in Washington and in Brussels about Albania. And that's a level of and perceptions of corruption in this country. Transparency International, for example, now ranks Albania 95th out of 183 countries. In other words, Albania has slipped fallen, I would say, a few places since 2010. Can you explain, first of all, what is the level of corruption in this country? Do too many public officials view government posts as an opportunity to make money rather than public service? And why do so many people in this country view much of the Albanian political elite as being corrupt? How would you address those questions?
First, if you put me the question, if there is corruption, yes, there is corruption. Is corruption a serious matter? Yes, corruption is a serious matter. But where the situation is, in this country the situation is based on serious polls, independent polls, is far from what it's described. First. Second, there are some data. This country is the only one which in 6 years got more than $7 billion US as revenues in customs and taxes. The most major bulwark of corruption is customs and taxes in every country. Second, if corruption is where money are, let's take procurement. Albania, which have had 2006 at the beginning, one of the lowest ICT penetration indices in the world, become the first country in the world 3 years later with 100% e-procurement, which multiply by 6 the participation in the race and diminished by 27% the overall cost of procurement. Third, because to me, corruption, which is a genetic disease of human beings in the sense that human beings are greedy. They must be protected, they must protect not to become sleazy. Mm-hmm. So reforms are vital to prevent corruption. Last week, JANUSZ, we become one of the few governments in the world which publish the next day online every expenses from the treasury of the country. Mm-hmm. This year, by the end of this year, definitely we will be the most private country in the world, on the earth. That is, we will have ours, 3 dams, schools and hospitals as public one, and a part of a TV. Which is through privatization. We fight in public sector, corruption. But next to it, only last year there have been 120 officials of different levels apprehended and put to justice because of corruption. Still there is corruption. But I quoted all this, but there is a strong fighting against it.
So there is no political immunity if you're in public office?
No, the problem is, if there is a harmful element in fighting corruption, is its politicization. First. Second, you never have to look to corruption of the others. You have to look to corruption in your garden. A condition sine qua non. Very frequently I am with my colleagues and they are angry why United States and why these countries blame us about corruption. I tell them, no, you're wrong. If there is corruption, they are right to blame. And corruption is to be fought persistently, because at the end of the day is matrix of all ills in a country.
So the recent trial and acquittal of a former official had nothing to do, you're saying, with political immunity. It was based on evidence.
If it's case about Mr. Mehta, I think it was an exemplary one. A vice prime minister was accused by a video. He resigned. He stood before Albanians that I have no immunity. He went to court. Those who used for their purposes, he went to Supreme Court, which according to Albanian law is entitled to judge ministers and MPs. He asked judges to review the case in matter, not in procedure. Judges accepted his request, and today voted 5-0. I could not imagine a more transparent process than this one. But if someone says me that through a copy and paste operation, someone present a document, and despite the fact that it is 28 file copy and paste, it must be accepted as original one, and people penalized on that basis, this is not more justice. I myself, what I like very much, I like the idea of Mr. Mehta to ask reviewing the matter, and the judge that accepted to ask reviewing the matter. Because for judges was also possible to tell no, we have the procedure, that's all.
So would you say that, regardless of this particular case, that the government is conducting an effective anti-corruption campaign, or is it at the early stages of this campaign? I mean, what other elements do you see that need to be done?
No, this is a consolidated campaign against corruption, for sure. There are some steps, which is, for example, the removal of immunity of judges, MPs, and all other people. I think not an official has the right to consider himself or herself immune as regard to common crime and corruption. We offered a practice adopted in Bundestag, which is unilateral in this case. We asked High Council of Justice to proceed and was rejected by the existing president. Next president will accept, probably, and so we will persist in our fighting against corruption, more committed than ever.
Excuse me, Mr. Prime Minister, we need to break briefly for some adverts. We'll be back in a moment.